Today on America's Court with Judge Ross.
Her mother's funeral, she did this exact same thing, and my father came up to me, looked me in the eyes, and said, "Make sure she is not part of my funeral.
Keep her away from the mic."
In my courtroom, it's about equity and fairness. You want him to pay $628?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, knock my socks off. Justice should be more than just some foreign concept. I actually want you to learn something. The law talks about something may in fact be true, but can they prove it? And that's what's tough.
Fair, firm, compassionate. This is America's Court with Judge Ross. James Miles claims his aunt's eulogy for his late father was too long and says the funeral home charged him for the additional time. Mr. Miles is suing Jenny Miles in the amount of $1,500.
All rise. Remain standing and come to order. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Kevin Ross presiding.
Ladies and gentlemen, you may be seated.
All parties been sworn, Your Honor.
Third, Eboni Thomas. So you're suing your aunt over funeral expenses for your dad.
Yes, Your Honor.
What went down at the funeral, sir?
So I had the funeral perfectly set up for everybody to speak a certain allotted time, and my Aunt Jenny basically just hijacked the whole thing with her theatrics. We ended up going an hour over.
And by going an hour over, that cost you some money, and that's the money that you want to recoup.
Yes, Your Honor. The funeral home came to me and they said I owe them $1,500.
Now, this is your dad who passed away.
Yes.
Sorry to hear that. This is your brother.
My brother, correct.
What was the conversation, if any, that the family had when he passed away?
There was none.
There was none?
There was none.
Okay. Was it just you and your brother?
Yes.
Okay. Any particular reason why there was no conversation?
No, I don't know. You'll have to ask him about that.
Yes.
That's part of the reason.
I'm starting with you because the argument, as I recall, involves you feeling that you didn't have enough participation.
Yes, exactly. I felt left out. And, you know, he gave me 3 minutes to speak at a funeral of my brother that I've known my whole life. And I didn't feel that that was enough time.
Were there time constraints that you were aware of?
Yes.
Okay,
I
what
knew.
were those time constraints that you were
He told me
aware
I had 3 minutes.
And Mr. Miles, when you told your aunt, everybody wants to speak, but we can only do it within this period of time, did she say, okay, I'll go along with that?
She followed along like she was totally going to do it. Follow along. And I gave her an extra minute, a minute more than everybody else. He had so many friends. Everybody wanted to say something.
You know, I've been to a number of funerals, and I will tell you that when people say, you got 2 minutes, you got 3 minutes, rarely do they stick to those 2 to 3 minutes. Did you at one point say to her while she was engaging in this ongoing execution of her thoughts, we're going to have to move on, Auntie? Did you ever say that to her?
Yes, a huge part of me wanted to get up and just stop the show. She was like singing these songs. She was doing some crazy...
But that's what my brother loved. That's how I was honoring him.
Yeah, but it was just so inappropriate for the circumstance. I mean, we love when you do that sometimes when the timing is right, but not during his funeral.
It was inappropriate for the particular occasion, which means that you have been in situations where she has done the very thing that she was doing at the funeral.
Yeah, but not at a funeral.
It sounds like your aunt was being that same aunt that sings and performs and carries on, that she's been that way in other situations. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, but can I just say something?
Yes, sir.
I knew that my Aunt Jenny was going to go up and do some song, something. And I said, okay, maybe she'll take her time with the 3 minutes. Maybe she'll go to maybe 5, 6, 7 minutes. She took over 30 minutes of her own time. That is just out of line.
Well, finally, actually, the funeral director had to come in because they had another funeral after. So that's really the only reason it got stopped.
You didn't realize you had gone on for 30 minutes?
I was caught up in the moment. You know, I was just trying to celebrate my brother and just...
And what were you doing through the duration of the 30 minutes?
Well, I played some songs and I sang a little.
Songs
with an
S.
like 2, maybe 3.
Okay, so 3 songs.
And then I had some of his cousins come up, and they also
You
spoke.
had other people come up.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. It was a disgrace.
Well, wait a minute. If he's saying, Aunt Jenny, I just need you to speak, why would you then take it upon yourself to say, and you get to speak, and you get to speak? Why would you do that?
Because I just didn't think it was fair that he didn't let everybody that wanted to say something about, Daniel, that.
So this was intentional.
No, it wasn't really my intent. I mean, it just.
When you're at a point where you're just getting caught up in terms of speaking and performing and saying poetry or whatever it is, that's one thing. But when you start calling up other people, then that's your intention. I'm going to take as long as I want.
Okay.
Because I can.
Coming up on America's Court.
My father came up to me, looked me in the eye, and said, "Make sure she is not part of my funeral.
Keep her away from the mic."
And later.
Why are we wasting time on this car?
Let's get to the point. Let's get to the facts.
So get to it.
So I went to go get B-roll. After coming back from getting B-roll, he was shooting and the ball hit my car.
Closed captioning provided by. If you'll be in the Los Angeles area and want to bring your case to court, call 1-888-552-6878. This is America's Court with Judge Ross. America's Court is back with the case of James Miles, who is suing his aunt, Jenny Miles, for funeral expenses.
Knowing that there was this time constraint, and why was the time constraint so essential?
That's all I had left in the budget, that my father left in the funeral insurance.
The funeral company that provided the service said, for this amount of money, you get this amount allotment of time.
Yeah.
And they told you if you go over that time allotment, you will have to pay more?
Yes, they gave us a small grace period.
How much time did they give you in total?
With the grace period, about an hour and a half.
You had 90 minutes and it ended up going?
2 hours.
2 hours. Did you tell your aunt that?
That's what I told everyone. That's what I told her, yes.
Did you not understand what he was saying about we have to be out of this facility by X time?
I understood. Okay. I understood.
Again, I go back to, then your intention was to put him in the situation that he's in right now.
I mean, it wasn't necessarily my intention, like, I'm going to do this, maliciously. It just was more... I didn't say
maliciously. Okay, I just said it wasn't this sort of, I don't know where this came from. You were told you had a certain amount of time. You were like, that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
You had decided then, that's unacceptable to me.
Right, of course, yes.
And I'm not going to respect it. Even though this is your dad, I know that I'm losing a brother. And it's almost as if that outweighed his loss of a father. That your feelings of losing your brother were more important than his just trying to honor his dad. And that's why I keep going back to this thing of your intention. As opposed to, what can I do, nephew, to make this easier for you? Because I know you're hurting. And I know you lost your dad. So I want to be one of these people that makes it smooth. I don't get the sense that was your intention. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand that.
So what would be your response to that?
Well, at the beginning, he didn't even come to me for my advice on which funeral home we should go to.
And you didn't like that?
Which you specifically...
I didn't like that because I knew that this particular funeral home was known for charging people fees very quickly, incurring fees.
You were offended by the fact that you weren't involved in the planning.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, may I add something? Yes. My father, after another funeral, after my grandmother's funeral, she did the exact same thing.
This is your mother?
Yes, my
Her
mother.
mother's funeral,
yes.
She did this exact same thing, and my father came up to me, looked me in the eye, and said, "Make sure she is not part of my funeral.
Keep her away from the mic.
Funeral. She can do whatever she wants at the party afterwards. But during the funeral, when it's supposed to be intimate and sensitive to everyone there."
Did you tell her that? Did you tell her that you were just trying to follow your dad's wishes?
I said it as nicely as I possibly could. I said, "Listen, I got this thing under wraps. You got 3 minutes. That's more time than everybody else." And there she goes. Does some Broadway audition at my dad's funeral.
Did you say it the way you just said it just now?
I said it as politely as I possibly could. I was in a hurting moment.
You said it the way you just said it. And the reason that I called that to your attention is because that left me cold. Here's the deal. This is what we're going to do. You got 3, I can't even bend my fingers. You got 3 minutes. You got 3 minutes. Handle it. And then we're going to keep this thing moving. And maybe that's just the way you deal with grief.
I was trying to preserve his honor.
The question is, how is it that she should pay $1,500 when she was not someone who signed off on this agreement? You didn't tell her what the consequences were going to be?
Based on the fact that she knew I was the sole person planning this and was using the budget to pay for this entire funeral.
That's all you got?
I didn't want her to be involved with any of this.
Stop.
Now
Stop.
Okay.
That's the issue. You didn't want her to be involved. She felt that you didn't want her to be involved. You said, this is what's going to happen. She said, no, it's not. She did it her way. And now you're saying, I'm going to punish you by making you pay for it. That's what this is about. And based on the evidence and the testimony before this court, the gavel has to come down in favor of the defendant. You don't have a contract. You don't have any sort of duty of care that she owed to you with respect to speaking long at a funeral. You had the option of stepping up and saying, we're going to have to move along. And Auntie, if you want to speak, you can speak at the party, you can speak at the burial site, but we are going to keep this program going. You had that option. And part of being an adult is sometimes you got to make some tough choices. And sometimes you got to hurt some folks' feelings. And this, unfortunately, is a lesson you're going to have to learn here. It's unfortunate that this is how your Father's Day ended, because it was really about him. But you're the grown-up. You weren't acting very grown-up in this situation. Your matter's dismissed. Case closed.
Judge Ross has ruled in favor of the defendant. The plaintiff's claim has been dismissed.
Who can give a tribute in 3 minutes? I should have been involved in the planning.
I knew that she was going to do this. I should have taken the mic from her when I had a chance.
Coming up on America's Court with Judge Ross.
At some point, was your camera equipment on the basketball court?
Yes.
What do people do on a basketball court?
Play basketball.
Closed captioning provided by. This is America's Court with Judge Ross. Jim Littlefield claims his camera was damaged while on a video shoot at a basketball court and says the defendant is to blame. Mr. Littlefield is suing Ray Brunswell in the amount of $1,275.
Mr. Littlefield, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
Something happened to your camera.
Yes, unfortunately.
What was your camera do down on the basketball court to begin with, sir?
So with the tripod,
Yes.
blacktop is perfect because it's level.
Okay.
So it was just
but it's not used
perfect.
for that. It's really designed for people to play basketball.
Right.
Right, Mr. Brunswell?
Yes, sir.
And you tell me from your perspective what was going on.
I was going to play basketball like I always do in my neighborhood park.
When you say always, is this something you do on a daily basis?
Daily basis, I play basketball.
Had you seen
for
Mr.
school.
Littlefield there previously?
We go to the same school. I've seen him around shooting videos. I play basketball for the school.
Okay. Is it a big school or a
It's a
small
university, yes.
school? Okay. But not so much whereas you don't know each other and
Right.
you know that he plays basketball.
Correct.
Why are you doing this on the blacktop of the basketball court, though? Was that part of the shoot?
Yes, it's part of the contract between the brand that hired me and myself.
You were paid to do this at this location?
I was supposed to be
Okay. And you weren't paid because?
because you broke my camera.
He broke your camera. Well, if someone breaks property belonging to someone else, it's pretty much a given that that person should be responsible. And pay
Not
the price.
necessarily. I live in the neighborhood that the park is in. I go to the park every day around the same time.
Yes.
Probably about a couple hours before the sun sets. And when I walked up to the court, I just see a car parked in the middle of the court. I walked up to him politely. I said, are you going to be finished?
And what did you say?
So give me about 10 minutes, I'll move my car.
That's a lot of time to ask for somebody that doesn't have the right, permit or otherwise, to have a basketball court blocked by a car.
Soft 10
I would have
minutes.
had an attitude. I would have been a little salty. No, not 10 minutes. This car isn't supposed to be here. You need to move it now.
Coming up on America's Court.
You left home to go up there to play.
Play.
You were inconvenienced. You said, fine, I'll go back home. By the time I get back, the car will be gone.
That's exactly what I thought.
And was the car gone?
No, the car was not gone when I arrived.
Closed captioning provided by. This is America's Court with Judge Ross. America's Court is back with the case of Jim Littlefield, who is suing Ray Brunswell for property damage.
But you said, I'll wait 10 minutes.
I waited, I'm cool, so I was like, I gotta go home anyways. I left some things at home, went home. I stayed there a little longer than 10 minutes to assure that he
You
would
left
be gone.
home to go up there to play.
To play.
You were inconvenienced. You said, fine, I'll go back home. By the time I get back, the car will be gone.
That's exactly what I thought.
And was the car gone?
So before that, we exchanged
car
numbers.
gone?
No, the car was not gone when I arrived.
Okay, but you exchanged numbers for what purpose?
He said he would text me when he moved the car in about 10 minutes.
Did you tell him that?
I did.
You did?
Yes.
In 10 minutes, did you text him?
No.
No. In 20 minutes, did you text him?
30.
30. That's inconsiderate. Did you finally move the car?
Yes.
Where was the camera in relation to the car?
Not set up yet.
Okay. So we spent all this time talking about the car, but this has nothing to do with the car. Am I getting this right?
You're right.
Okay, then why are we wasting time on this car?
Let's get to the point. Let's get to the facts.
So get to it.
So, I went to go get B-roll. After coming back from getting B-roll, he was shooting, and the ball hit my car.
At some point, was your camera equipment on the basketball court?
Yes.
What do people do on a basketball court?
Play basketball.
They play basketball with a what?
Ball.
A ball. And balls do what?
Bounce. Dribble.
Roll, bounce. What is a camera doing on a basketball court?
Judge Ross's verdict when America's Court returns. Promotional consideration provided by. This is America's Court with Judge Ross.
If something is on a basketball court with a ball that rolls and bounces, what is a camera doing on a basketball court?
It's a big court. There's more space. There's two sides. And he decided to...
I take it your basketball that rolls and bounces somehow came in contact with his camera that's not necessarily designed to be on a basketball court.
It definitely did, Your Honor.
And the ball broke the camera.
It definitely did.
And you want him to pay for the damage to the camera that never should have been on the basketball court with balls that roll and bounce, correct?
Correct.
Based on the evidence and the testimony before this court, the gavel comes out in favor of the defendant. Your camera had no business being there. Your matter's dismissed. Case closed.
Judge Ross has ruled in favor of the defendant. The plaintiff's claim has been dismissed.
I'm glad the judge saw common sense. Who would put a camera on the basketball court?
He could have practiced on the other side of the court. Still think it's his fault.
Follow America's Court on Facebook and Twitter. This has been a production of Entertainment Studios.